Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Perth Fitfam podcast, where you get to hear from the best thought leaders and change makers from across the Perth fitness scene. In episode 42, we catch up with Caine, who recently qualified as an individual for the Masters Crossfit Games. I'm lucky enough to know Caine for quite a while. I've seen his journey, and when asked about people who inspire me, he's definitely one that comes up a lot. He's got a great story. We're going to take you through that through this episode, so make sure you listen through, and I hope you guys enjoy. I can also let you guys now know that Perth Fitfam is going to be an official broadcast partner of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games, which means that you're going to be able to tune in through our social media and watch the games live and the replays through the Perth Fitfam Facebook page. We're going to be commentating. It's going to be an awesome event, so make sure to tune in. And the Perth Fitfam podcast is brought to you by True Protein. True is unafraid to cut through the noise of an oversaturated market and break the mold to deliver authentic, all-natural products with genuine health benefits and none of the fake stuff. True have bucked the trend for expensive, overhyped, bad-tasting protein powders packed with false promises to reinvent the marketplace and create a 100% natural, delicious, or quality protein with no gimmicks, nothing artificial, and a completely transparent ingredient list. You can pick up True Protein online at trueprotein.com.au, and if you use the code PERFECTFAM10, you'll get an extra 10% discount off your order. And if you want to grab it from here in Perth, we have 120 retailers or more. So if you want to find one close to you, just shoot me a message. That is trueprotein.com.au using the code PerthFitFam10. That's it. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Here's Caine. Classic Woodle. Oi, so we were like outside, and you can hear him yelling from outside when you come in, hey?
Yeah.
So yeah, when I started CrossFit, and I've been doing it for about a month, and they really needed someone to judge. And they just said in the group, hey, can anyone go judge this comp? I'd only been doing CrossFit for a month, but because I'm like real eager, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's all right, I'll do it. I went there not really knowing the standards or the rules or anything. And all I remember was judging all day and learning how hard it was to count and how pissed off athletes get. And then I was judging Quinn, and it must have been one of Quinn's first comps as well, because I started no repping her for not opening up on the power cleans. And looking back, if they probably were reps, and Woodle just started yelling at me from the sideline.
You know what the best bit is? I've got a photo of it.
Oh, no.
Two's over the fence, like, giving you this big...
Maybe it was two.
On that camera.
Yes.
I've got the photo of that exact moment.
Maybe it was two that was yelling at me, and then Ryan said something later.
I'm sending it to you tonight. I've got the exact photo. He's like that.
Yeah. Please do, because it definitely would have been two. And he's like a pretty scary guy, and not when you know him, but when he's yelling at you and you're new to CrossFit, is pretty scary. So all I remember is I was just shitting myself, like, am I gonna get bashed in the car park or something? It's pretty crazy. Caine, I think it's number 42. Podcast number 4. I'm going to say podcast number 42. I'm going to commit. I'm going to stick to it. So Caine is just about to. You're heading off tomorrow to the CrossFit Games.
Tomorrow night, 11:55.
11:55. Oh, late flight. That's probably good for time though.
Yeah, I get in at 2:00, so it works out pretty good in the other end, not this end though.
Yeah. So 2 p.m. LAX.
No, I fly from here to Sydney to LA to Minnesota.
Oh, okay. So you go straight over that side.
Yeah.
And then time to rest up and get some recovery.
Absolutely. I've actually got friends of ours in Minnesota. They've got us tickets to the Red Sox and Yankees. So
no way.
In a corporate box.
It doesn't get any bigger than that, hey?
No, it's the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
So I'll land at 2:00, 5:30 the game starts. So I'll be wrecked, but we'll go straight there.
Oh, dude, that's so good. You know, that's how I came to Perth. I was a baseballer.
Really?
Yeah, true story. I grew up playing baseball ever since I was like little, and came over for the Nationals one year. I grew up in Canberra, and then I don't know if you've ever been to Canberra, but Canberra's not. It's a pretty city, but yeah, it's cold. It's small, and I just remember coming to Perth and seeing the beaches for the first time in the city, and I just remember thinking, man, I'm going to live here. And then yeah, sure enough, I think about 5 years later, I just told my folks I'm moving to Perth and jumped on a plane, and that was it. Now Perth Fitfam.
I was very much the same. I come across here, saw the beaches and was like, I ain't ever going home.
Where were you from originally?
So I grew up in Ballarat, which is about an hour and a half out of Melbourne.
Okay.
Country Victoria, so grew up there. I went up to Darwin to play footy in 99, and then I was only going to go for 6 months. Went up there, had a ball. Then I got recruited from Darwin to come play for East Perth over here.
Yep.
So I come across in 2000 and here I am.
That's pretty much what I wanted to start in. We'll go back to the CrossFit stuff in a second. But tell us about your footy journey, because I didn't know that you were from over east. I knew that you played footy over here in the Waffle, but I didn't realise that you were from over east.
Yeah, so I started playing, like in obviously Country Victoria, played for North Ballarat. Then I went and played. I had a bad run with injuries.
Yeah.
And the Northern Territory, the NT season runs on the opposite.
Okay.
So it runs during the winter, the summer.
Okay, yep.
So they have the opposite because of the wet season. So I got this phone call, and I was going through a heap of stuff at home, and I'd been injured, and I'd come back and I'd played the finals only, and we won the grand final.
Yep.
And so I'd played about 6 games in about 2 years.
Yep.
And I was struggling. But around that. And I got this phone call, and they rang my dad. This is before mobile phones. And you can say that because I'm a masters athlete, can't you?
Yeah.
And I got this phone call, and he's like, I saw you play on the weekend. I coach the Waratahs up in Darwin. I want you to come and play. And I was like, you're joking, mate. No chance. And just sort of left it at that. And then my dad was like, yeah, why don't you go? Like, you're just sitting here, you got your head down, you're moping around, just go. He goes, go up there for 6 months. So I was like, give me the phone. So I rang him back and I said, I'll go on one condition. And he goes, what's that? And I said, I'll leave tomorrow.
Yep.
And he's like, yep, no worries, I'll sort it out for you. So
why so urgent?
I'm one of them people that was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm all in. Let's go. So I was like, I just wanted to get out of there. I thought, if I'm going to do it. So I packed a bag. I'd never been on an aeroplane. And I flew we flew to Darwin. I remember landing in Darwin, and I was like, what have I done? But yeah, it was really fun. I had a good time there, and then I played for Darwin in the representative game that year up there, and then got recruited to come over here.
Yeah, and that was 2000. How old were you in 2000?
I was 20, yeah. So I was in Darwin when I was 19, turned 20 when I came across to here.
And what was your experience like in Perth when you first came over? Have you been here before?
No, so like I said, I'd never been on a plane. I'd never left country Victoria.
Yep.
I was just a country kid that had just sort of stayed at home. And yeah, like a big trip was to go to the beach and see Geelong Beach, which is about an hour away from Ballarat. That was a big trip. So yeah, I went up to Darwin, and then when we came across to here, the club that recruited us across, and I remember that I got a bike. My push bike got sent down with me. I had a backpack and a push bike and not much money, and I said, where's a good place to go? And this guy, the recruiting manager, goes, go to Scarborough, it's the best. And so we got on our bike, we rode down to Scarborough. I remember my bike got stolen, and we went down the beach, and I was just that happy. I was like, this is the best place. I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry about the bike. I've found home. So
awesome. That
was the end of that. I literally didn't go home for 2 years. So I was going to leave for 6 months. I never went home for 2 years, and the rest of it sort of.
Are your folks still over there now?
Yeah, yep. So all my family's still there.
Okay. Yeah, same situation. Except you got a family here as well.
Now.
Yeah. Where did all that come about? Tell us about that.
So I played obviously with East Perth. I left East Perth, went to Subiaco. Played in the Waffle for 10 years or 11 years, I think it was.
Yep.
And then
that's a big stint, isn't it?
It was a big stint.
Yeah.
It's funny because I spent my whole footy career. I went from the young guy to the middle age to the old guy of football, and then you sort of think that sport's finished and done, and then I had a bit of a limbo period, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute, and then I found CrossFit. But prior to that, I met my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife, but I've sort of met Lana, and we were friends for a while, and then she went off travelling around Europe, and then she come back, and then I went off and come back, and then when we finally got back, I remember getting back, and I was a bit depressed. I was like, I'm coming back. I don't want to end my trip, and I landed in Perth, turned my phone on, there was a message from her, and I was like, yes, things are looking up. And then, so we started dating then, and we ended up going travelling ourselves for a year. I took a year off footy, and we went travelling that year, and then she got pregnant when we were away, and we got married and had our 2 boys, Xavier and Zane. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So tell us about your footy career, because 10, 11 years, that's a pretty long stint. So what made you stop? Like, did you just retire because, or did you have an injury?
No, so I had plenty of injuries along the way, like everyone in football. I guess it's one of those sports that you just, if you've played long enough, you'll have a list of injuries. I can guarantee it. No, I played at East Perth, won a premiership there, went across to Subi, and ended up I won 4 there. So
Whoa.
So we ended up, like at the end of my career, we'd had my first son. I'd started a new business, and life sort of catches up, I guess. You put so much time into football. You're there, all, training all the time. And then I had the kids. I had my son, and then the business. It was just time. I'd got enough out of football. I felt like I'd achieved a lot. I was really messed up in a body sense. Like my knees were shot. I was in a bad way. Like I couldn't play without painkillers.
Yeah.
I was in constant pain. And I had to weigh it up. And at that point, I sort of thought that it was a good time to call it. So.
Yeah, and then after playing for so long, and there would have been so much good experiences, especially winning 5 premierships, in the waffle. I'm sure there would have been highs. So what was it like for you when you stopped? Because you would have been so active your whole life. Yeah,
like that was when I really, I guess I fell into, and it's probably something that it's been brought up a little bit more recently than what it had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I fell into a hole where, from my whole life, like my teen life and then adult life, I'd always had, you go to training, you train, you're told what to do, you're told what to eat, and then you finish training, you got one night a week you can get on a drink, you drink and you get as drunk as possible, and then you get back to the same thing. And then all of a sudden, when I finished football, football gives you all these amazing highs, and there's lows, don't get me wrong, but there was so much of the highs, and then all of a sudden you chewed up and spat out the other side, and it's all gone.
Yeah.
And you're sort of like, I speak for myself, I felt like I lost a lot of identity. I was a footballer, I wasn't an AFL footballer, but I was still a footballer, and that was my identity. Everyone who knew me as a footballer, and it was gone. And I was sort of like, I started to drink more. I got depression, and looking back now, I was in a really bad way. Like I did get to a point where I was suicidal. Not in a case of every day, but I did have a few times have some thoughts and stuff like that. And I started drinking and become an alcoholic, really. So
how much
escalated really quickly.
Out of curiosity, just for my own curiosity, like how much do you eventually drink? Like when you realize, hey, this is not an issue. I mean, sorry, this is an issue.
Yeah. Like I said before, I only ever learned, and this is what I put it back to, and I can only speak for myself, but I only ever learned how to drink, and it was one way, and it was you go out and you get annihilated, and you get up tomorrow and you get on with it and get back to training.
Yeah.
And then when I finished, I never learned how to socially drink. I never learned how to go out to somebody's house, have a barbecue, have a beer, and then go home and be 2 or 3 beers, and that was it. So because I never socially learned how to do it, I just drank the same way. So when footy finished and I didn't have to answer to anybody, I'd start drinking 5 or 6, and then I'd have a few more. And then I started, I got to a point where I was a closet drinker. Like if I was drinking with you, and say if we were going to have a beer, I'd drink 5 or 6 before I even got to see you.
Yep.
Then we'd have our 5 or 6. And I was always the guy that would push you to, let's drink a little, let's have another one, Brendo. Come on, Brendo, let's do it. And then when we finished, I'd go home and drink more. And no one really knew the amount that I was drinking, except for myself, really. And so to answer your question, I probably got to a point where I was drinking at least a minimum on a school nights, 12 to 14, and then up to a carton a day on the weekends.
It's so true, like, because in one thing which I really wanted to have this conversation is because I have experience the same, and the way that I explained it to people was, I wouldn't really ever drink in public.
Yeah.
But if I did, it would always be at home, like you say, like closet drinker.
Yeah.
And the same thing as you, I never had a healthy relationship with it. Like I learned how to drink by binge drinking, so I didn't understand the concept of, oh, you're just going to have a glass of wine. And and I always said that if I went to the shop, if I wanted to try and be normal and drink like other people, when I went to the shop and I got a bottle of wine with the intention of having a glass, I guarantee you that I would drink the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and then possibly some more as well. And there was always like the binging and the sense of regret or shame afterwards as well, which then what you're talking about with, then you start to spiral into circles of depression, and then you just mask it by like drinking as well. So
it's a dark hole.
It is, yeah. It's massive. It's massive. And so, like, how long did that go on for, from when you started? Stop footy.
It didn't, it wasn't an overnight thing. Like I sort of started to drink more, and then I had the pressures of starting a business, and then obviously what I was saying about sort of being spat at the back end of football, and so I don't really know how quickly it happened. I remember I drank a lot, but as it went, it happened over a 3 or 4 year period, probably a 4 year period. And it just got worse. And then I sort of thought, oh, no, I'd pull it back in, and I'd stop, and then I'd start again. And then and I'd just go through the same process. It was just, it was never ending. Like I'd cut back, or I wouldn't drink. I'm not going to drink tonight. And then I just got to a point where I couldn't not drink. I was drinking, once it come 3 o'clock or something, I was like needing to have a beer. And it's sad. I look back now and I think, how did I get to that point, and what was I doing? It's a funny story. Like I've still got the last beer I brought in my fridge.
Oh, no way.
It's sitting there, yeah.
Unopened.
Yeah. So I remember buying a carton, and I was drinking it, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But I remember I took a beer to bed, and I remember waking up in the morning, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I becoming? And I was like, so you've got to sort this out. And there was one beer, and I thought, I'm going to throw it all out. You've seen the movies where they pour it all down the sink.
I've done it.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Well, I was like, no, I'm going to leave that thing, and I leave it right in front of me.
Yeah.
And it's still sitting there. It's a Corona sitting on the top shelf of my fridge.
There you go. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But like I actually never, just so everyone knows, I haven't drank. Yes, so I'm coming up to 5 years. 14th of August is 5 years. So, but I actually never said to myself, I'm not going to drink.
Okay.
I'm going to stop drinking. It's just, I just went, right, that's it. And I always think, like, when people say, oh, I'm going to quit smoking, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then they don't do it, and then their word doesn't really, to me, like, your word doesn't really mean it. So I've always said, there will be probably a day I'll drink again, and I don't know when, but it'll be only when I can fully control it. But whether it ever happens or doesn't happen, I remember, when we were in the team, I told the guys if we qualified for the games, I'd have a beer at the games. We got there, we qualified, they cracked me a beer, and I held it, and I couldn't drink it. I was just like, I can't do it. So maybe there will be a day when I can or I want to, but at this stage, it's not
just
something.
like no sense. I got a question. You said that you had, like, your identity was a football player. When you were drinking, did you identify yourself as a drinker, or did you identify yourself still as a fitness football player, like a fit individual?
No, fitness, I was gone. Like,
okay.
I honestly just thought, and like I said to you, when you come to, when you get to 30 and you're playing football, like especially at a high level, you become known as the old guy. Like, you've been around forever, and 31, 32, and around 33, your shelf life's almost done.
Yeah.
And so I'd lost that identity. I didn't know what I was. I was this new dad, and I was like, what do I loved sport. I loved it, and I lost it all. And I was like, what do I do? And I went and tried to play in the country, which was fun. I had a great time playing in the country, but it was just it was a dirty Band-Aid, really. Like, it was just, I'd go down there, play, get drunk, and that was all it really was. And even then, like, I was still going through the same things, like with my body and everything else. So, yeah.
So then, how long till you started CrossFit?
So I've been doing CrossFit for 5 years. So I ended up getting talked into playing a game of footy for South Mandurah.
Yes.
And I was working, this young kid was working with me, and he's like, come down and play a game. And I was like, and he talked it up how good he was, and I was like, yeah, I'll come down, I'll play. And I was like, yeah. He goes, come and play in the resis, and I was like, all right. So I go down there, and then the coach of the seniors was like, he knew who I was. He's like, you're playing the seniors. I'm like, no, I'm not, no way. And I played, and I was disgusting. I remember running, like the ball was out in the wing, and I thought, I got this, and I could feel my guts bouncing up and down when I was trying to chase it. And I hardly even touched the ball, and I just remember walking off, and I said, Alana, my wife, goes, oh, you were okay. And I was like,
Thanks, babe.
No, you didn't watch. I was ridiculous. And that was on Anzac Day 5 years ago, and I was like, that's it. I'm getting myself into shape.
Yep.
And I didn't know what I was going to do, and I remember a couple of days later, there was a CrossFit gym in Mandurah, CrossFit Mandurah, which just goes down. I joined up there and was useless. I couldn't squat. I couldn't do anything, but I was pretty stubborn and super competitive. And I was like, like my knees were so bad I couldn't get past parallel, and it was horrible. But I sort of just I loved it. I loved the I don't know, the camaraderie. Everyone getting around you.
Yeah.
I was usually the last one finishing the workout, so it was good to
No chance.
I was useless. I was really bad. I was okay with some of the things, and I actually got into shape pretty quickly. Like I did start to lose. I was still drinking then.
Okay.
But it pulled me back in the sense that like I was not drinking. Actually, I was drinking just as much, but I was just training my way through it. Yep. But so I started to lose a bit of weight, and then all of a sudden, like my knees started feeling better. I started getting stronger, and I was thinking maybe I'm not done. And then I remember like whinging to my wife. I was like, we're going to a comp. We went and watched a comp, and there was all these young guys, and they were just dominating. And I was like, I wish I found this sport when I was young. I wish this was. I would have been so good if it was around when I was in my prime. And she looked at me and she goes, if you want to be good, just shut up and just train as hard as they do. And I was like, okay.
That's solid advice, hey?
That's stuck with me. That is some of the best advice anyone's ever given me. It was from my wife that just looked at me and was like, if you want to be good, just train just as hard as they do.
That's actually really good advice. You know what?
Yeah. It was cold.
You would have been about 35 at that time, right?
Yeah.
So I was 20, I might have been 28, 27, 28 when I first found CrossFit. And I was at that age, I still thought the same thing. Because I was like, oh man, imagine if I found this in my early 20s, and then imagine if I didn't waste 5 years or more of my life just partying and like not focusing on fitness. Like I think no matter what, as soon as someone experiences it and it's so much fun and you start learning new skills and you're doing muscle ups, you're walking on your hands, like when you get to that level, and it's like the sense of, I think you would have found it too, that sense of competition that you hadn't had for years, all of a sudden you get it. Yeah,
that got me. I remember going in there and the whiteboard, and you write your names up on the whiteboard, and just getting owned by people, and you're like, I'm a very competitive person.
Yeah,
I don't even let my kids beat me, and but I'd be like, how is that dude beating me? And then how's that guy outlifting me? How's that girl outlifting me? And then and that was what I loved about it. Like it was, just being able to constantly push yourself to try and find new levels. And
do you think that finding CrossFit had an effect on you to want to stop drinking, or was it just a personal thing? Like it was just someone that you didn't want to be?
No, it definitely had an effect. It was a personal thing. Like I got to a point where I knew it was I had to make a change. Alcoholism has ran in my family for forever and a day, and it's not something that I wanted to pass on. Yeah. And I don't think it needs to be passed on. Just because you've witnessed it doesn't mean it needs to be, generic or anything like that. So, I sort of got to a point where my only reason was for my family. Like I knew if I kept going the way I was, my marriage wouldn't have lasted. Yeah. And I would have lost my kids, and then, what would I have become? And then, so, for my marriage and my children was the 100% reason. But CrossFit gave me the outlet.
Yeah.
You know, like I needed to go and find something to release myself. I was trying to release myself with alcohol, and then, you know, you have your stresses of whatever else. But I found CrossFit was where I went, and I put myself through whatever. If I wanted to release, whatever stress or whatever else, that was where I went and did it. And,
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone does the same. But
Oh, man, it's a great stress relief. So, you're at CrossFit Mandurah. How long until you came to Injustice? Because that must have been a pivotal point into, I guess, your next journey.
yeah, definitely. So I was that Mandurah? I don't really know the exact time. I think it would have been maybe 10 months probably.
Okay, had you competed or anything by that stage?
I did one comp. I did the 3 versus 3.
Yes.
The one up in Joondalup, up on the tennis courts up there, or the netball
I
courts.
was there. That was my first competition.
Yeah, that was mine as well. And
Yeah,
then,
it was in October, and it was, probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Would have been.
Yep.
Yep.
So I did that one. I was useless. Had an absolute ball.
I got to ask, before we keep going, what division were you in?
RX.
I was in intermediate. I thought we might have competed against each other.
No, I was in the RX.
See, you were good. You were better than me.
I wasn't good. I wasn't good. I remember they said, you got this handstand. What? Remember the handstand?
Oh, yeah.
And I did a wheelbarrow pretty much because I just ran and and I was like, how can any normal human that hasn't come from the circus walk on their hands? But it was really good. I was hooked. From that moment, I was all in. I wanted the lot. I was like, when's the next comp? How do I find out? When do I do it? So that was, I did that one.
Ryan won that comp.
Yeah, he wins all of them though.
Yeah, it was Ryan and Jem. So for those listening, Jem's my coach.
No, that wasn't that one.
Oh, wasn't it?
No, it was the one after. One before
okay.
that one.
Gotcha.
I do remember that because we gave him a bit of stick because he left us. I was at Injustice then. He left us and jumped on with Jem.
Went on the super team.
You can go back to Jem now.
Yeah, okay. Jem was my coach, and I just remember seeing. Well, he's my coach now. He wasn't my coach then. And if anyone has seen Jem and Ryan in person, they are beasts. Ryan is actually the reason why I started CrossFit, because I saw him at an expo. By that stage, I came from the bodybuilding space. I learned about Rich Fronin, because I thought CrossFit was just for endurance athletes that lifted bad, like, typical bodybuilder mentality. And then I went to the expo and I saw Ryan competing, and it was this dude who was jacked with his beard doing muscle ups and cool stuff, and I just remember thinking, I can do that. Yeah. And then that was my moment to go to my first CrossFit gym. True story. Anyway, 2 jacked individuals. Let's continue.
So then I went. I don't know what comp it was actually. I think it was the All-Star one, the one that Rob Fort ran. It was at the uni.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, I think it was an affiliate one.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I went to that we had a team from Mandurah in it, and I think it was teams of 4, and you went through the day 1, and then you got put into intermediate or RX.
Yes.
After day 1, and I remember going to that, and then I saw Injustice were there, and Ryan and Tu and Quinn and Ernie, and I think they came 2nd or 3rd, and I was like, they just looked really cool. Like they were super tight, and they were having a ball. They were just having fun, but they were good. And I was like, wow, they're just down the road from me. And so I gave, and they were hitting these massive numbers. I couldn't lift to save myself. So I rang Ryan up on the Monday after the comp, and I rang and just said, hi, how you going? I live down the road. Is there any chance I could come down and just do some ollie lifting? So I stayed at Mandurah for CrossFit.
Yes.
Was my plan, and then I was just going to go to Ryan and do some ollie lifting, and I went down there and started off with some ollie lifting, and then after probably 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, this is where I want to be. And
so, when you know, you know.
Yeah, so then I went full time, like come down and join Ryan's gym, and pretty much been here just as much as the barbells ever since.
So at that point in time, like you said that you weren't good at lifting, you were still reasonably new, so you probably would have been about 12 months in at that stage.
I don't reckon it would have been that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like still really new, but you're back into fitness, you made some lifestyle changes. Before coming to Injustice, or the moment that you came to Injustice, what vision did you have in your mind of where you could take it?
I just wanted to get better. I didn't really, never ever did I think at that point, hey, I'm going to go to the games on the team, or I'm going to make it to regionals on the team, or go to the games as an individual. Never did I think that. I just really wanted to get like I was seeing a lot of progression. Like I was getting better, and you know when you see the improvement in yourself and you just get hooked on it. It's like anything. If you see improvement in your life in anything, you just get hooked and you chase it. Like it can be anything at all. And so I was seeing that, and I was, and then I was seeing I was getting in a better mood. I got off medication. I was like, this is good. And just when I started at Ryan's, I think I'd been there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I went to one of our footy reunions, and that was the last time I drank. I was like, I made a fool of myself, and I was like, that's it. One of the premiership reunions, and I was like, that's it. So these guys have never actually seen me drink. And then so I was like, that's it. I'm going to I need to put a focus. If I'm not going to drink, and I thought, this is a great place. These guys, I was like, they're right. They come here every day.
Oh, they love it.
They train this hard. And I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be here all the time.
So I went to regionals with you guys. I think it was the year that you
16?
qualified for the games. Yeah, I was staying.
17 we qualified. I think you come 2 years with us.
Yeah, I think I did. I've been there 4 years. So one of the years I was staying with the team. Oh no, 2 was there. So it would have been the year before, I think.
Yeah, it was 16. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 years. Yeah, that's right. And we all went out afterwards together. No, you were definitely there. I remember because Chu offered you a drink and said, "Come on, man, have one drink," and you just went, "Nah." I remember.
He still offers them to me, eh?
Yeah, I remember this clearly. Yeah, and we all went out and made fools of ourselves. So the team was so tight.
Yeah.
Like everyone sat down. They all had really nice, like literally went around the circle to say something that they really appreciated about each other. And I just remember thinking, man, I've never seen like a group of people who aren't family like so tight like this.
Yeah, and that was what as soon as I come to Injustice, that was the thing. It was I'd found somewhere where I could go and have my 1 hour or my 2 hours a day, and then that moment of like I remember just getting better and better, and then the first time Injustice qualified was 2015 for regionals, and I didn't make it that year, but I was around the mark, and I remember thinking, well, if I can improve as much as I did in the last year, maybe I might be able to make the team the next year, and then I did scrape into it that year, which was 2016, and we just missed out by a couple of points.
You were one spot off because Ryan went as an individual. Yeah, that was there that year. Yeah, and
then that hurt. That was probably the point when I thought I thought to myself, we only just missed out.
It was like by 1 point, wasn't it?
It was 1 point. And I remember thinking to myself, I've got a lot of improvement. I think all of us have got a lot of improvement. If we can go back and a lot of things have got to line up, for a team. But I remember going back and we all sort of started coming in early in the mornings, coming back in the afternoon, and we put a lot of work in. And then, 2017 worked out pretty good for us.
Did it? Second place? Made it to the games?
Yeah, that was cool. So
got your first game experience?
That was probably, to answer your question from before, that was probably the first time that I sort of thought, I reckon we can. I reckon I could go on and do something with it. So
that's pretty crazy. And even seeing from an outside point of view, because I've got to observe your journey, and around that time, seeing your improvements as an athlete was like insane, like craziness, rapid, and like your physique. Like seeing the change to your physique and like how lean you got and like how much muscle you were carrying. It was really crazy. So it must have been a massive confidence boost as well, especially going to the games. But even prior to that, like it must have been such a big trigger. Yeah,
it was. Like I saw the same thing. Like I did change rapidly, but like to me, it wasn't like everyone else was like, wow, well, you've changed, because I'd become overweight,
Yeah.
And then I wasn't a shadow of what I was when I played footy. So to me, like although I was an overweight alcoholic, I still thought of myself as an athlete. Like I was like, I can move. Like why can't I? Just because I got all this padding on me. So like I always believed that I could improve rapidly. Like I remember doing a comp or doing a lot of them, and being like, oh yeah, that guy beat me, but I know I'm going to improve a lot quicker, and if I go and do this, and then so it was. There's Ryan looking through there. So like it was classic little. So I did have a lot of rapid improvement, but I sort of believed in myself that I was going to. And I guess training with these guys, they constantly I'd get flogged at training, so you're constantly trying to get better. It was like I was never the big fish in the small pond. I was always the small fish in there, if you know what I mean. So
that's important for your development as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Massive.
I think it's the biggest part. You know, if you have to always be getting pushed.
Yeah. I think I'm very lucky, like going back to Legion, is that I'm very lucky that I'm around quality athletes. Same as Injustice.
Yeah.
Around quality athletes all the time. And so your perception of what is good is so different.
It gets knocked down
very much so. And then when you go into a different environment, and your fitness level is like quite good, it's like, oh no, compared to average, like I'm actually like, for me, you're much better than me. You're a multiple games athlete, but it's still that same sense. I got to ask this because Shell wanted to know, what did you do to your nutrition to change? Because your physique did change. Did you take it more serious? Like, what did you do?
I don't really remember at the start. Like, I started eating a lot cleaner. Like, I ate pretty good anyway. Mm-hmm. Nutrition's been one thing that I've never really put my finger on, except for this campaign I've put in to go to the games. This is the first time I've never eaten bad. Like, I've always eaten good. I won't really drink soft drink and things like that. And so I guess I just cleaned up and probably ate clean. And then probably got a lot more information from it, which is funny because I played, state level footy for all those years and didn't really know anything about nutrition.
Very basic, yeah.
Yeah, like I remember our football nutrition. You just eat as much carbs as you can on Friday night, and then you just load it up, and then on the morning, have a bag of snakes and we'll be into it. That was like,
that's horrible advice.
It is. I did that for my whole career. But so I guess once I started CrossFit, you start learning about paleo and all these different diets and take what you want. But I just pretty much ate lean meat and vegetables. That's what I like.
So it's more like a mental shift to your training as opposed to like any nutrition stages at that stage.
Like I just went back to just being pretty much what I was brought up on, just meat and veg and water, and that's pretty much all
the basics.
Yeah.
So by this stage, 2017, you qualified for the games. You've gone through alcoholism. You completely transformed your physique. What was it like?
It was awesome. Like I'd got off, medication. By then it was 2 or 3 years of I'd kicked alcohol. Like I'd stopped any cravings. It was, I was like, I'm owning it. That's nothing to me now. Yeah, it was good. It was amazing to qualify with the team, and I think I was saying to you before we went on air. I was like, it was a stressful time for me though. Like the leading up, I pulled my hamstring 30 days out. We didn't really tell anyone because we didn't tell anyone because it was the fact that if I didn't go, the team didn't go. So there's a lot of stress on the back of that. I had a 7-centimetre tear in my hamstring, 30 days out, and luckily got back.
But the experience of being out there, like at one stage you thought your career in sport was over. Yeah. And now you're at the biggest stage in the world of CrossFit in your mid-30s. And late 30s.
Yeah, late 30s then, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. I remember this walk. I still do now. Like I pinch myself and think, dude, I can't believe we competed there. Like it was awesome. And then, because it happened quickly. Like I went from, just local comps, and then all of a sudden I was like, wow, we made regionals. And then I'm on the regionals team, and then I was like, holy wreck, we nearly qualified for the games. And then I had the belief that we could. Like when we nearly did it, and then the next year when we did it, it was awesome.
Yeah, man, that would have been such an unreal experience. Like, just to go from what you did to then stand on the biggest stage and like actually get to live that. That's cool. And then last year, the team didn't go as the same team to regionals, so you guys didn't go to the games last year. So what was your mindset? Did you have your eye, because you would have known that, because you're going into the 40 to 44 category, yeah, in Masters. So you would have known that you would have been coming up to that. Was it in your mind that you had what it took to be able to qualify as an individual?
It was, yeah. I did believe in myself that I could. I think I come like 40th in the 30s, not last year, the year before.
And that's a tough division.
And I did all the workouts around our team training. Like I didn't focus on it at all. And then last year I was like, when Ryan qualified, I tried to have a go at it, but I had a really bad year. I lost my cousin in a workplace accident. Super close friends, 2 friends had cancer, and had a really bad business decisions happen, and it was just a bad year. And I when people say that if your mind isn't right, you're not in it. And I trained super hard, but it was just my mind wasn't there. When it hurt, it was always a reason to back off. And I look back now. At that moment, I didn't know that. So then, when Ryan went and last year, and I was like, because when we were there as a team, I remember saying to Ryan, I'm coming back here. And he was like, yep, so am I. And then, so I knew I was ticking over to 40, and I said to him at the start of the season when he got back, I said, I want to have a crack at this year I'm 40. And I said to him that, I really want to have a crack, and I'd love to go there, both of us go there. It didn't quite work out that way this year, but he's going to be there as a coach. And
he is going over?
Yeah, he's coming across as
wicked.
a coach, which
Awesome.
is going to be an awesome experience to be able to share that, because he's obviously my coach, but he's one of my best mates as well. So
yeah, like we said before, man, you guys are so tight. It's such a good crew.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we are. That's good.
So what did it feel like when you knew that you'd qualified?
It was awesome, man. It was horrible. It was stressful, man. So I don't know, if you know the background, but obviously they went down to 10, and I thought, ooh,
yeah, they've really cut down the divisions.
I remember when they dropped it to 10, and I was like, top 10. And I sort of moped around for about an hour. I was like, I don't know. And then I was like, well, if I had been top 20, I would have been aiming for top 10 anyway. So what's the difference? Let's just knuckle down and see what happens. And then, so I ended up 19th after the Open.
Yep.
And I was like, right, I got some work that needs to be done, So I went all, I sort of doubled my training load, went all in, and I ended up 10th. And then, so you got to put your scores in.
Yes.
And obviously you had to have them in by 9 o'clock, same as the Open. And then, so my score's sitting there, and I was in 6th, I was in 5th, I was in 6th, I was in 7th, and I'm like, oh, and Ryan's ringing me every hour, and I'm like, man, just stop ringing me. And I went 8th, 9th, 10th. And I sat there, and I was like, for a day. And I was like, I think I've done it. I was like, I think I've qualified for the CrossFit Games as an individual. And then, so Ryan has a bit of a look, and it's like, oh yeah, well, we've got until 2 days to verify the scores. Now, when it's the Open, you can understand there's 1,000 people. There's only 200 of us.
Yeah.
Put it in. So this score sat there. My score sat there I was in 9th, I think, 9th or 10th, for a day and a half, and then I wake up in the morning, I check, and I'm equal 10th. But on the back end of equal 10th, because the guy who I was equal 10th with had an event win. And I was out. And I'm like, oh, you're joking.
You're kidding me.
And so I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
You would have been so deflated.
I was shattered. And I was like, this just isn't fair. I'd rather be 20 spots out opposed to equal.
Yes.
No one wants to be the 10th equalist person, do they?
No.
So I for 2 weeks, I pretty much sat there at that. I was equal 10th.
Yeah.
Everyone's asking me, how'd you go? And I was like, yeah. I didn't even want to say it anymore. I was like, yeah, no good. And they did the video reviews. So they asked for the videos. And one guy, he got omitted. I don't know what he done, but he obviously his standards must have been that bad they took him out.
Yes.
So I jumped up to 10th.
Yep.
And then the guy who I was equal 10th with got a couple of no reps.
Yeah.
And because we were equal scores, I jumped him, so I moved into 9th. So
wicked.
The experience was absolutely stressful. It was it just dragged on and on and on. And it was it wasn't something, if you had said to me beforehand, what do you reckon it would be like to qualify as an individual? I would have been like, oh, to be the best, I'll be yes. But it wasn't. It was the total opposite. It was stressful. And it just dragged on and on.
But you've done it. You're going to the CrossFit Games as an individual athlete.
Yeah, yeah.
So looking back now, everything that you went through from sport, you know, to overcoming alcoholism through that period, to finding CrossFit, to now being at the games, like, do you ever stop to, like, what do you think about yourself? Do you ever stop to, like, think about your journey?
Yeah, I have. Like, I have stopped. And, you know, it's, like, I think I said it the other day on something on social media, but, you know, like, making the CrossFit Games is amazing. And that's like you made the games. But that's an achievement. But the journey's where the fulfillment is. You know, like, looking back at all the things I've overcome and all the things, how much I've made myself better as a person, as a dad, as a human, as a role model to some people. You know, all of those things. That's where the fulfillment is, and that's, you know, that to me is better than, like, you know, going to the games. That isn't going to change me. At all as a person, but all those other things have changed me as a person. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah. So.
It's a really good answer.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good answer. A couple more things before we go. How did you juggle all of this? Because I know that people always have an excuse. How do you juggle all of this with the family?
I've got an amazing wife.
Yep.
That's very considerate and allows me to chase my dreams and understands the person I am.
Yeah.
You know, she's gone through the footy days, gone through the days when I was, you know, an alcoholic, and now gone through these days, and she's knows what kind of person I am and what I need to do. So an amazing wife is first.
Yeah.
And just find, like, I get up at 4:30 in the morning, 4:15 my alarm goes off.
Yep.
So, like, you know, if you can have an excuse, but yeah, I get up early, we come in and train, come back in the afternoon. If I've got to work late afterwards, I'll work late. I've just locked on and haven't made excuses. I've factored them into part of my daily routine, and that's what it is.
Just committed.
Yeah.
And for someone who's in a similar situation, they're either going through something or they've got a family and they have those excuses, like, what's your advice? Like, I find your story extremely inspirational. And I'm 34 now, and I wrote this in a post. I tagged you and I tagged Ryan, and someone asked me who inspires me. I think they asked about Rich Froning first. Do I like Rich Froning? Everyone likes Rich Froning.
Yeah.
And who inspires me? And I said locally that you and Ryan were probably the two that I look at. And I think, because I went through my early 30s, like what we said, saying, I wish I discovered this sooner, because if I did this in my 20s, I'd be pretty good.
I'd be rich.
Yeah, exactly. And then I see you guys doing, like, just getting better and better. And whenever you hit a PB, it always just makes me think, oh man, I can still get better.
Yeah.
And people are starting to see that now in my life, where I do get to do all the cool stuff.
You're
I'm doing it.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, 100-kilometer races, and I do stuff that I never would have done. And I always think, man, I'm only getting better. Like, my goal is, I want to be fitter when I'm 40 than what I am now. Yeah. And seeing you guys, I think that's achievable. So what's your advice to people tuning in or looking in to be able to make a change in their life?
Find your why, really. Like, yeah, you can get, like, a goal will get you out of bed, but your why, like, you can get out of bed and get to the gym, but if you don't have a goal, like a proper goal, and find out why you want to achieve it. Like, is it just because you want to say you got up onto a podium? Well, that ain't going to last.
There's not a lot of substance to it.
It's not going to last for long, is it? You know, it'll burn out pretty quickly. And
yeah,
find a why. Like, why do you want? Do you want to inspire people? Do you want to show your kids? Like, one of the things that, you know, my why is that I want my kids to be able to look back and go, my dad was badass. You know, like, he worked his ring off, and, you know, and show them that anything is possible if you're willing to put in the work. And I say it to my kids all the time, and they're one of my biggest whys. Like, I've seen, like, on the other side, if I don't have a passion and a goal and a why, like, what happened to me? Like, I escalated super quick and got into a place that was dark and was a road that wasn't gonna, you know, like, wasn't I wasn't going to say it, but, like, the main reason why I stopped was my mum got so bad that she tried to commit suicide from alcoholism. And I was like, there was probably a point where my mum thought that, you know, a few beers a night, or, you know, is okay. And then it escalated, then 5's okay, then 6 is okay, and then 10's okay. And then she got to a point where she was not even leaving her room, you know?
Yeah.
And and she tried to commit suicide. And that was when I was like, I'm not going to, this is stopping right here. Like, I'm not going to pass this on, you know. And she's doing amazing now, which is amazing in itself.
Awesome.
But you know, that was, I just didn't want to have to pass it on. And that's my why. Like, I found a why. I want to be awesome for my kids. I want them to look at me as an athlete, as a good dad, as a hardworking person that abides to good, you know, good ethics and good morals, you know. And then, so that's what gets me going. A long answer. Find a why. Find a why that you want to keep pushing and keep getting better, and that'll keep you going during the cold winter months. And
yeah.
And
you've got through them. Caine, thanks for being on, man. Thanks for sharing the journey, dude. That was awesome. Good luck. CrossFit Games, the 1st of August till the 4th of August.
Yep.
Check it out. Good luck, brother.
Brenda will be hosting.
I will be. I'll be commentating. Tune in. That is it for episode 42 of the Perth Fitfam podcast with CrossFit Games athlete Caine Hayes. I really hope you enjoyed his inspiring story. He's someone that I really look up to coming into my middle 30s now, and just seeing the awesome things that he's continuing to do just really inspires me to get better. And just through his story, it just goes to show it doesn't matter where you are in life, you can always make a decision to make a change, and who knows where you'll end up. So thank you, Caine, for being so honest, for being on the podcast. Best of luck for the CrossFit Games. And if you guys enjoyed that podcast, then please jump onto iTunes, give us a 5-star review. I'd love to hear your comments. If you do take a screenshot on Instagram, make sure to tag us in. We'd love to share it out. And we are pretty much a week out of the 2019 CrossFit Games. So jump on Facebook, watch the event. We're going to be commentating. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun. And that is all. And as always, stay tuned for more of the Perth fitness scene to come.